Hello, welcome to Leadership Live. Today, we're going to answer the question why failed performance reviews are killing your culture. Now, when I say performance reviews, the question is how can performance reviews either help your culture or hurt your culture? And I'm going to talk about this in great detail today because most people don't realize if you are doing performance reviews wrong, it's going to kill your culture. And this is part 4 of my Culture Killer series. It's literally, we're going through 4 different things. These are new terms, new things, and some of them are old terms that are now coming back into the lexicon. But what they're doing is that they're killing organizational culture. And so I don't want it to destroy your culture. I want it to actually help your culture to be successful. So you got to learn how to do performance reviews the right way. But what you should not do is a term called rank and yank. See, rank and yank was something that a lot of companies did in the 1990s and the early 2000s. And I thought it was dead and gone and never coming back. But as we get to these uncertain times where company finances are starting to get tight, where companies are looking for any and every excuse to lay off employees, downsize employees, or outright terminate employees, the term rank and yank is coming back. Now, I don't want you to have this kind of culture or this kind of process in your organization because it's going to kill your culture. So before I get into telling you how do you do performance reviews the right way, I want to unpack a little bit this new terminology, or as I said, old terminology that is now coming back, and that's rank and yank. So what is rank and yank? Rank and yank is a simple force distribution performance system. So when I say force distribution performance system, I want to give you an example. So I will meet with a leader, a senior leader at some organization, right? And I literally will ask them a question. What percentage of your employees are top performers? And when I say top performers, these are the people who drive productivity and success in your organization. And you know what response I get every single time? I get about 20%. And so I ask the next question, what are you basing this on? Well, we just look at, who's the most productive in the organization. Well, that's starting to tell me that they don't necessarily have structured performance goals focused on each person on the team and in the organization. Instead, what they might be doing is doing what I call force ranking of their employees. So they rank some at the top, some in the middle, and some at the bottom. So when I mean force ranking is that you don't have individual benchmarks for your employees. You just set an arbitrary number that says, okay, if our goal is to sell 1,000 widgets a day, okay, let's look at the largest percentage of people who are doing well over 1,000 widgets a day. So you might have 5% of your people who are doing 2,000 a day. So you're going to say those are our top performers. We got 5% of our people doing, 2,000 a day. So those are top performers. And then you say the middle performers are the people who are actually hitting that 1,000. So if you hit the 1,000 and you're at least 1,000 but below 2,000, you consider them to be middle performers. But if anybody is not hitting the 1,000, they're at 999 or 700 or 500, you consider them low performers. And that's how you rank them: high performers, middle performers, and low performers. But then, right after you rank the high performers, the middle performers, and the low performers, you basically say that everybody in the low performance category is not pulling their weight. They're not doing good. So we need to either put them on performance improvement plans or we need to just terminate them because they're not meeting the goal. Now, that could be a way of doing it. But let me tell you why that's arbitrary and why that's wrong. Because you haven't even assessed why the people who are not hitting the goal are not hitting the goal. Do they have all of the tools and information and resources to hit the goal? Are there some other barriers in the way? Did you see that this person may have been over 1,000 for the last 3 years, but something happened this year, and that's the reason why they're at 900? You don't really have a structured framework. So you put this arbitrary system to rank everybody and then yank the low performers out of the organization. And this is not a good thing at all. This is actually probably the worst thing that you can do. And let me tell you why it's the worst thing that you can do. Number one, it's going to stifle innovation in your organization. Because just because someone didn't hit the mark this year doesn't mean they're a bad employee. You can't just rank them one year and say they're a bad employee. You have to actually do some longitudinal evaluation to see what's going on. But if you don't do that and you just get rid of them, you might be getting rid of people who have some of the best ideas, who might be the people who could be drivers in your organization with just a little bit of change. Or maybe they have some ideas to suggest what you should be doing to change in your organization. But they won't be doing that because they won't be there. You would have gotten rid of them. So you don't want to reduce your innovation by doing a Rank-and-Yank system. Here's the second reason why you don't want to do it, and this is a big cost, is that you're going to create this toxic internal competition that everybody's going to figure out real quickly that I got to get over 1,000. It don't matter what I got to do to get over 1,000. I'm just going to get over 1,000 so I'm not in the bottom tier performers and therefore lose my job. So then you'll end up having people do unethical things to hit the arbitrary number. Now, can I give you an example of this, or like a real life example of this? Is when the company Wells Fargo started incentivizing their employees for the number of new accounts that were opening. So if you open 1,000, but let me just give you that analogy. If you open 1,000 new accounts, then you would consider meeting the performance goal. And if you did 2,000 accounts, you were going to get a bonus. But if you didn't open up 1,000 accounts, then you're not a good employee, and so we're going to get you. So this created a toxic environment where you had employees at Wells Fargo opening up accounts under employee names and people, under customer names, and the customer didn't want or need the account, didn't ask for the account, but they all of a sudden got a new account because the employee was getting ranked, whether they were performing or not, by the number of accounts they wanted. So this is toxic. This is a toxic internal behavior. It actually creates toxic competition inside where employees are now trying to steal customers from each other or trying to steal opportunities from each other just to make sure that they hit the goal, because nobody wants to end up as a tier 3 performer. The tier 1s are the high performers. The tier 2s are the people who are meeting expectations, and the tier 1s are the ones who are below expectations. So nobody wants to be below expectations. So people start doing all kinds of things to make sure they hit the quota number so they're not ranked in the bottom and therefore yanked out of their job. So the other thing is, this is really kind of leaning into why it's the ethical concerns around it. Let's just imagine that you have a team who is not in the top tier or the second tier, but they're in the bottom tier. And this team, for a lot of different reasons that you haven't investigated yet, happens to be a team of women or a team of people of color. So you then make a decision that we're going to lay off all of those low performers, and then you have an adverse impact, which is you open yourself up to legal liability because we laid off 40% women in this one department, or we laid off 30% of, people who have 25 years of experience in the company. So now you're getting this age kind of discrimination thing going on. So you don't want to be doing that. There's significant costs to this forced distribution performance called Rank-and-Yank. Not good at all. So you don't want to be doing this. But let me give you some signs that this might be happening inside your organization. And what we're going to talk about at the end, what you can do to stop that. And I'm going to give you one simple way to turn this all around. But here's an example of whether your company is doing Rank-and-Yank. Do you have percentage measurements for the people who exceed expectations or meet expectations or don't achieve expectations? Kind of like what I said before. Do you have a 5%, a 30%, and then 50% below, or whatever the number is? If you got that kind of percentage ranking of people in your organization, you might be doing Rank-and-Yank, and you need to stop. Then the second thing you need to understand is that if you have high performers on your team, people who are putting in the work, knocking down the goals, but those folks are disengaged, they're not bringing new ideas to the table. They're just getting through the day and hitting their goals and going home, waiting for their bonus check or waiting for their paycheck. If you got people who are disengaged, you might have created an incentive structure that people know, I just need to hit my goals. That's how I survived this round of layoffs, is I need to hit my goals. That's how I don't end up in a group of people who get put on performance improvement plans. I just need to hit my goals, because those goals are arbitrary. They're benchmarks. They're just set company-wide that doesn't account for the differences in the individuality of people. Then you might be doing it wrong, and you might be doing some Rank-and-Yank. Now, here's the third one. This is the one that you'll see the most. Do you have managers that are resentful about doing performance reviews? Like, if you got a management culture where your leaders are notoriously late for doing performance reviews, or they don't want to do them at all, if they just want to avoid the performance review process, and they get resentful because they're being forced to just arbitrarily say Sharon is a top performer, but Marcy is not, that Stacy is not, and Bill is hitting where he needs to be. They start to just rank people based upon feelings and whether I like them, whether I don't like them. And it doesn't feel good to them because they know they're not really looking at each individual and deciding whether this person is good, whether this person is bad, whether this person is doing things right, whether they're actually performing the way that they need to be performing. So if you have that going on in your organization, you're doing what I call forced distribution performance, that you're putting people in buckets, high, medium, and low. That low bucket gets put on performance improvement plans, or they get terminated. That's going to, like I said, kill your innovation. It's going to create this toxic internal competition in your organization, and it's going to raise ethical concerns, significant ethical concerns, or whether people are, just doing what they got to do to get across the finish line, hook or crook, no matter what it takes, by any means necessary. You don't want that. So here's what I want you to do on how to stop it. The first thing, and this is really the same thing, is that you have to literally teach your leaders how to coach performance improvement. That a performance improvement plan is not about ranking people high, mid, and low, but it's about, let's evaluate your performance and let me tell you what you need to be doing to get better next year. You need to tell people what they need to be doing to get better next year. You got to work on coaching your leaders and how they can coach performance of the employees. So you want to teach them how to coach and counsel rather than just reprimand or cut them off because they haven't hit that arbitrary benchmark. Now, coaching your leaders on performance is not something that should be taken lightly or easy to do. And that's why you need a plan and a strategy. So if you are looking for a plan and a strategy, I can help you put together a plan or a strategy. So if you like this video, if you found like you got some value out of this video and you want a strategy, send me a direct message and I will be happy to help you. Or if you think this video is relevant to someone, I want you to click that share button and share it with an HR leader that you know, or share it with a senior director that you know, so I can share this information with them and help them to figure out a strategy on how to improve their organization and not have a rank and yank force distribution performance model in your organization. Because bad performance reviews kill culture. A bad performance process kills culture. And just throwing your employees in the top tier, in the middle tier, in a low tier bucket without really evaluating the individual and what their performance looks like, you are killing your culture. So there you have it. The 4 things that I've laid out for you in this series on culture killers. This is number 4. Rank-and-Yank is how you're fueling your turnover. Because what's going to happen if you're doing this Rank-and-Yank system, employees are going to figure it out and they just going to leave. They're not even going to be set into a category to say that they're a low performer. They're going to quit before they get measured. And that is going to kill your culture as well. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I want to thank you for watching this episode of Leadership Live. I'm Anton Gunn. Y'all have a great rest of your week. And I'll see you next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Take care.